As the crisp air of autumn begins to settle in, it's the perfect season to embrace cozy creativity in the garden. Fall invites us to slow down, to savor the fading warmth, and to look for beauty in things that others might overlook. That's where upcycling comes in, transforming vintage finds into enchanting accents that celebrate the charm of the season. Imagine strolling through a flea market and spotting forgotten treasures that could breathe new life into your outdoor space. A rusted lantern, a chipped teapot, or even a stack of weathered books becomes an invitation to imagine. Visual, golden autumn light falling on a rustic flea market table scattered with old lanterns and books. Upcycling is not just about reusing, it's about storytelling. Each item carries a history, and by placing it in your fall garden, you add a new chapter to its tale. A vintage milk crate filled with mums tells of farmhouse kitchens and Sunday gatherings, while an old watering can overflowing with cascading ivy whispers of long-forgotten chores. These objects, once utilitarian, now become poetic. Visual, a vintage watering can spilling with green ivy, surrounded by orange pumpkins. The magic lies in contrast, the blending of time-worn metal, chipped enamel, and faded fabrics with the lush vibrancy of autumn's harvest. Old textures amplify the freshness of seasonal blooms, and in turn, the flowers soften the edges of rust and patina. It's in this union that true charm emerges. Visual, cracked enamel bowl filled with bright marigolds, set on a weathered wooden bench. As we begin this journey together, think of your garden as a canvas. Every object you rescue and reimagine will add character, warmth, and nostalgia to your outdoor retreat. With each section of this video, you'll discover practical, artful ways to infuse your garden with personality and timeless fall charm. Visual, autumn leaves scattered on a cobblestone path leading to a whimsical, upcycled garden corner. The thrill of upcycling often starts with the hunt. Thrift stores, flea markets, and estate sales are treasure troves where neglected objects quietly wait for a second chance. Walk into these spaces with an open mind, and you'll soon see beyond the dust and rust. That chipped chair or weather-beaten basket might hold the key to your garden's autumnal charm. Visual, rows of flea market stalls with wooden crates, wicker baskets, and faded signs under golden fall sunlight. When scouting, don't just look for perfect pieces. Imperfections are where the magic hides. Scratches, dents, and cracks add authenticity and depth to your garden's design. They tell stories of decades past and invite your plants to become part of that narrative. Think of a cracked ceramic jug repurposed as a planter, its flaws transformed into features. Visual, a cracked jug filled with chrysanthemums glowing in autumn sun. It's also wise to think practically. Lightweight items like tin cans or enamel basins are easy to repurpose, while sturdy finds like wooden ladders or wrought iron headboards can serve as garden anchors. Always imagine how an object's shape and texture might complement your plants. Visual: a vintage wooden ladder leaned against a garden wall with vines creeping up. Finally, keep your garden's palette in mind. The warm oranges, reds, and browns of fall pair beautifully with the muted tones of aged wood, tarnished brass, or faded fabric. Choose items that harmonize with these hues, and your garden will glow with effortless, rustic charm. Visual: a stack of brass candlesticks reflecting fiery autumn leaves. There's a certain beauty in rust and patina that only time can create. Instead of discarding an old, weathered object, allow it to showcase its age proudly in your autumn garden. Rusted iron buckets, patinated copper pots, and tarnished tin trays can become statement pieces. The way they contrast with the fresh vibrancy of seasonal blooms makes them feel almost magical. Visual: a rusted iron bucket brimming with golden marigolds and trailing ivy. Don't shy away from surfaces that look imperfect. Those worn edges and faded colors evoke nostalgia, and when paired with fall textures, like crisp leaves or rough burlap, they feel intentional. A chipped enamelware dish can cradle pine cones and acorns, becoming both rustic and elegant. These are the details that transform a garden corner into a vignette worth lingering over. Visual: a chipped enamel bowl filled with pine cones, acorns, and dried leaves. You can even enhance these aged looks by leaning into seasonal arrangements. A patina green watering can brimming with mums looks like it belongs to another century, as though it was forgotten and rediscovered just in time for fall. This blending of history and harvest creates atmosphere. Visual: a patina green watering can filled with orange and yellow mums. Every rusty hinge, faded fabric scrap, or dulled metal finish offers an opportunity to add texture. Rather than restoring these items, let their stories remain visible. This way, your garden becomes a gallery of objects that honor their past while embracing their role in your present. Visual: an aged copper pot nestled among pumpkins and dried corn stalks. Few materials capture the spirit of fall like weathered wood. Its earthy tones echo the season's palette, making it a natural fit for autumn decor. Old crates, shutters, and ladders can all be given second lives in the garden. Place a wooden crate on its side to form a rustic shelf, or lean a shutter against a wall to frame your potted plants. Visual: a weathered wooden crate turned into a shelf holding small potted mums. Wood has a grounding effect, anchoring other upcycled elements and connecting them to the natural world. An old chair missing its seat can cradle a planter full of cascading ivy, creating a whimsical blend of form and function. Even simple boards, stacked or arranged creatively, can evoke warmth and history. Visual: a broken wooden chair with a pot of ivy spilling over the frame. The beauty of repurposed wood is in its grain and scars. Cracks, knots, and nail holes each tell a story, and when paired with pumpkins or lanterns, the result feels timeless. A salvaged barn door propped against a fence can transform a dull space into an evocative backdrop. Visual: a rustic barn door with lanterns and pumpkins arranged at its base. Adding wooden accents also allows for layering. Combine them with metals, fabrics, and natural elements to create depth. Imagine a wooden ladder holding pots of chrysanthemums at varying heights, creating a tiered display full of autumn charm. Visual: a vintage wooden ladder lined with pots of golden mums on each rung. One of the easiest ways to add vintage charm to your fall garden is by repurposing old containers. Teapots, tin cans, enamel basins, or even colanders can be transformed into unique planters. Their shapes and textures create visual interest, while their imperfections add character. Imagine a row of colorful chrysanthemums spilling from mismatched teapots, each one telling its own story. Visual: a collection of old teapots filled with bright chrysanthemums on a garden bench. Metal containers, especially those with dense or faded paint, look striking when paired with vibrant fall colors. A galvanized bucket planted with fiery orange mums seems to glow against its gray surface, while an old toolbox can become a miniature herb garden for cool weather cooking. Each container brings personality to the display. Visual: a galvanized bucket overflowing with orange mums beside a weathered toolbox of herbs. Ceramic and enamel containers, even if cracked or chipped, shine as seasonal decor. Fill them with ornamental cabbages, kale, or pansies, and they become jewel-toned accents against autumn's muted backdrop. Their delicate patterns and glossy finishes play beautifully against rustic wood or rusty metal. Visual: a chipped ceramic bowl brimming with purple ornamental cabbages. For larger displays, old laundry tubs or barrels make dramatic centerpieces. Layer them with straw, gourds, and cascading vines for a harvest-themed focal point. The contrast of utilitarian objects with abundant seasonal textures makes the garden feel both nostalgic and abundant. Visual: a vintage wooden barrel overflowing with gourds, straw, and trailing vines. Textiles might not be the first thing you think of for a garden, but old fabrics can add warmth and softness to outdoor spaces. Faded quilts, lace tablecloths, or burlap sacks can be repurposed as table runners, cushion covers, or even garden banners. Their gentle wear gives them a cozy, lived-in appeal perfect for fall. Visual: a faded quilt draped over a rustic garden bench surrounded by pumpkins. Burlap, in particular, blends beautifully with autumn's natural textures. Wrap burlap around pots of chrysanthemums, or use it to tie bundles of dried corn stalks. Its roughness complements the smoothness of pumpkins and the delicacy of fall flowers, creating a balanced rustic look. Visual: burlap-wrapped flower pots beside pumpkins and dried corn stalks. For a touch of whimsy, hang vintage linens as outdoor banners. Their faded florals fluttering in the cool autumn breeze add movement and color to your garden. This transforms forgotten fabric into an artful statement that feels both playful and nostalgic. Visual: vintage lace tablecloths strung across a garden path like banners. Even small scraps of fabric can be reused. Tie them around jars holding tea lights, or weave them into wreaths of twigs and dried leaves. These little touches bring charm and texture, reminding us that beauty often lies in the simplest details. Visual: jars wrapped with fabric scraps glowing with candlelight at dusk. Wreaths are a timeless autumn accent, and upcycling gives them fresh character. Old grapevine wreaths can be wrapped with fabric scraps, twine, and dried flowers to create unique garden hangings. Each wreath becomes a celebration of the season, blending old and new in a circular story of renewal. Visual: a grapevine wreath decorated with burlap ribbons and dried sunflowers. Consider hanging items that weren't originally meant for decor. Vintage kitchen sieves, embroidery hoops, or even bicycle wheels can be transformed into wreath-like displays. Adorn them with vines, leaves, or fairy lights for an unexpected twist. Visual: a vintage bicycle wheel decorated with orange leaves and tiny glowing lights. Hanging planters also offer opportunities. Old colanders, buckets, or enamel bowls can dangle from sturdy hooks, cradling trailing ivy or pansies. Suspended at different heights, they create a whimsical vertical garden full of motion and charm. Visual: enamel colanders hanging from a tree branch with flowers spilling over. To tie it all together, place these wreaths and hanging displays near pathways or entryways. Guests will be greeted by vibrant textures and colors, reminding them that even the most ordinary objects can be reinvented for seasonal magic. Visual: a garden gate adorned with layered wreaths of leaves, fabric, and twine. A fall garden is more than decoration, it's an invitation to gather. Upcycled furniture and vintage accents can help create intimate spaces where friends and family linger. Imagine a mismatched set of old chairs surrounding a fire pit, softened with plaid blankets and glowing lanterns. These small touches turn the chill of autumn into warmth and connection. Visual: a circle of mismatched vintage chairs with plaid blankets around a fire pit at dusk. Tables, even rickety ones, can serve as hubs for seasonal feasts. Drape a quilt across the surface, top it with a basket of apples, and set mismatched cups ready for cider. Imperfect furniture adds character, reminding us that comfort is about atmosphere, not perfection. Visual: a patched quilt covering a table with apples and cider mugs. Don't forget to layer lighting for ambience. Candles in glass jars, lanterns hung on hooks, and twinkling string lights overhead create a magical cocoon. These glowing details encourage longer conversations as the night air turns crisp. Visual: string lights glowing above a rustic wooden table surrounded by pumpkins. Finally, integrate natural accents into the gathering space. Scatter leaves across tabletops, tuck pine cones into corners, and let pumpkins spill casually around seating. This effortless blending of decor with nature makes guests feel rooted in the beauty of the season. Visual: pumpkins and pine cones scattered across a table under golden autumn leaves. As we wrap up this autumnal journey, remember that upcycling is not just about decoration, it's about storytelling. Each vintage piece you rescue carries a past, and your creativity gives it a new purpose in the present. Together, they form a garden filled with history, character, and warmth. Visual, a cozy autumn garden corner with lanterns, crates, and mums glowing in the fading light. The beauty of fall lies in transformation. Leaves turn, air chills, and the world shifts into a softer, more reflective rhythm. By embracing upcycled treasures, you align your garden with this natural cycle of renewal, reminding us that nothing truly loses its worth. Visual, golden leaves swirling around a rustic bench with pumpkins and blankets. Think of your garden as a living scrapbook. Every lantern, chair, or basket becomes a memory marker, weaving past stories into present moments. This blend of nostalgia and creativity makes your space feel both timeless and deeply personal. Visual, a patchwork of vintage items arranged as a cozy garden vignette with autumn flowers. Thank you for joining this exploration of vintage finds and fall garden charm. As you create your own seasonal sanctuary, let imperfection be your guide and imagination your tool. The result will be a garden that not only looks beautiful but also feels like home. Visual, a warmly lit autumn garden path leading to a gate framed by glowing lanterns.